Hello, everybody, and once again to Second Take. I'm Matt Parmesan here with the usual crew.
Desert Rooms.
Darren Eastman.
Demetrius Dillard.
On this episode, we'll be discussing the start of the Major League Baseball season, Russell Westbrook's historic numbers as of late, and whether the UConn women's basketball team's dominance is hurting their sport. So let's get started.
Baseball is back, you guys. Opening day of the Major League Baseball season is set for April 3rd. Which team is your early pick to win the World Series?
I like the Cubs. They're of course they're the best on paper. Everybody's choosing them to be number one. But I like that they re-signed Dexter Fowler. He's a pretty good outfielder, and then they have also They signed veteran outfielder. I forgot his name. Jason Hayward, yeah. And then you have John Lackey, a veteran pitcher. He's off to a rough start, but he's going to find his rhythm after a while. So.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cubs as well. The Cubs fans have been suffering for the past 100 years. They haven't won a World Series since 1908, but I think this is the year that they get it done. They've got a really strong core of young players, with Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, who was the Rookie of the Year last year, and Jake Arrieta, who is their ace as a pitcher. And, like Demetrius said, they added Jason Hayward, who they actually took from the Cardinals, and they also took John Lackey from the Cardinals, so that weakens the Cardinals. So that helps them out in their division. And as well, they also added Ben Zobrist, who was a big player for the Royals last year, who won the World Series. So the Royals are weakened, and also the Mets. The Mets were the team that the Cubs lost to in the NLCS last year, and the Mets have gotten a lot worse because they lost Yoenis Cespedes. The Mets struggled last year offensively, and Cespedes was their best offensive player, so the Mets are worse. And I think so that makes the Cubs the prohibitive favorite in the NL, and then with the Royals, the prohibitive favorite in the AL, not going to make it this year probably with Zobrist being gone. I think the Cubs have the chance to do it.
To piggyback off you, they won 97 games last year. They added Jason Hayward and they added John Lackey. They can win 100 or more this year. They also have Theo Epstein, who was with the Red Sox, who broke their curse. So I think he'll do that again this year.
See, I wanted to say the Kansas City Royals very bad because I think sometimes we get bored with teams that's winning games, but history shows us teams that stay the same. Teams make adjustments, and they usually don't have a great year. So with that said, I want to be different, but I'm going with Chicago Cubs just like you are. On paper, I feel like they're easily the best team. They're very young. They're not satisfied with winning the NLC, attending to it last year. Like you all said, they signed the best player in the market, Jason Hayward, a do-it-all second baseman, and Ben Zobrist, underrated a rotation stabilizing John Lackey. And I just feel like they're a complete team, a deep rotation. They have everything that would it take. So I got the Chicago Cubs just like you all guys winning the World Series.
And another thing is the Cubs, in my opinion, have the best manager in baseball in Joe Maddon.
Good point.
And last year was his first year with the team, and I think with him having another year under his belt with those guys, that young core, they're going to be even more on the same page, and they're just going to be able to take that next step and make it to the World Series and win it and make Cubs fans happy for once.
Yeah. Get that first World Series out the way.
Russell Westbrook of the Oklahoma City Thunder is putting together an all-time great season. His 16th triple-double are just one behind Magic Johnson for the most in a single season over the past 30 seasons. Has Westbrook become a better player than superstar teammate Kevin Durant?
This is hard because Russell Westbrook is my favorite player on 2K. That's my guy. That's my guy.
He's like a creative player.
Yeah, so it's like we look at the season averages right now. Kevin Durant is averaging 27.4 points a game, 7 rebounds, and rounded up 4 assists. Westbrook is averaging 23.7, so we rounded up 24, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds. Those are Oscar Robertson numbers to me. So when you look at the numbers, you look at it, automatically stand out, you say Westbrook. But I also seen when it came to crunch time this year, how Westbrook sometimes they needed him to be that point guard on the team, and he gave the game away a lot. Sometimes you turn over trying to do too much, and that's when you give the ball to your best player. Now, everybody has their opinion who they feel like the best player, but Kevin Durant, 6'10", wing, he's been only getting better throughout every year. Of course, he had his injuries, but Kevin Durant, in my opinion, besides Steph Curry, is the best scorer in the game. Kevin Durant is a matchup nightmare to this day. And in my opinion, I'm going Kevin Durant between the better of them two. But it's kind of like picking your poison. Like, what's better on a sandwich, peanut butter or jelly? Like,
Right.
it's like any given day, Westbrook can beat you, or Kevin Durant can beat you. But I'm still going with Kevin Durant right now. What about
Right.
you all?
I've got to go with Russ just because, Russ he's got that killer mentality that I don't think KD has.
Good point.
Because, sometimes when you watch games, KD, he tends to disappear at times. Like, you just don't even know if he's on the floor. And with Russ, you never have to worry about that. He's probably the best competitor in the game. He's so fiery, he brings such a great attitude to the team. And he never takes a play off. He puts maximum effort every night, and that's why he gets so many triple-doubles. He's just an athletic freak, and I don't even think he's reached his ceiling yet. He's not even close to reaching his ceiling. KD's got him in scoring. He's a better shooter. I think all-around player, you got to give it to Russ, because Russ I think is better defensively. KD's averaging 0.9 steals this year. Russ is up to 2.1. Russ, he just does everything for that team.
Are you worried about his turnovers this year and his late collapses at the end of the game? Because right now he's averaging over 4 turnovers a game. How you feel about that?
I just think that when you have the ball in your hands so much like Russ does, you're going to have moments where, not even MJ at the end of the game sometimes, it's not always going to go your way. And people are always going to focus more on the negative side of things. But Russ, he's also a great closer in his own right, too. A lot of times, he's won games for them late. He's made big shots for them. And I think it's just people are focusing on more of the negative right now than the positive, which is his all-around game, his triple-doubles. And, the Thunder are 16-0 when he has a triple-double. And he's just important to that team as KD is, and he makes that team go.
Okay. This a good question, by the way. Is Westbrook become a better player than Kevin Durant?
Do you feel like
No.
he has surpassed it?
No, he hasn't.
So
He
you're
hasn't.
going KD?
I'm going KD. Defensively, he's better than KD. I respect what his Westbrook, like the analysts say, he's mad at the rim. I don't know if y'all saw the dunk he had last night,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, needs no further explanation. His tenacity, his passion is admirable, and it's something that guards should look at to model their game after in terms of just hard work. But here's the problem with Westbrook, and Darian he mentioned this, is late game situations I can't really trust Westbrook with the ball. I mean, I've seen him shoot fadeaway like 30-something footers with like time to spare when you could have used your athleticism to create space and get a better shot or create a shot for somebody else. Durant is proven to be more clutch. Durant is a better scorer in my opinion. Durant is more cerebral, and that's Westbrook's kryptonite. Sooner or later, he is going to have to develop, like an old man game, because his body's going to deteriorate. And but right now, KD is a better player because he's more clutch. Clutch is like the #1 factor in basketball, and he's more cerebral.
I'm disagreeing with you. I'll go with Westbrook and that. Just because that Westbrook proved this last year when Durant and Ibaka went down, and he carried them almost to the playoff. They're 1 game shy in the hard Western Conference. He's also, as you said, 16 triple-doubles. And going your turnovers aspect, they have no scorers really. They have a bunch of role players besides Durant, so he has to force passes to make them open the scores. I feel that's why he has so many turnovers.
You don't feel like having any role players on OKC? You don't feel like Deion Waiters?
I mean, they can't
or
score
Ibaka?
Deion
They
Waiters
can't-
is really streaky, and Ibaka, he's really fallen off. Ibaka, he can make some shots, but he's really streaky. Like before, he was a lot more consistent with his jumper, but these past 2 seasons, he hasn't really been consistent with it, and he's just been content on shooting threes. So he hasn't really helped them out a whole
I
lot.
feel that Westbrook, you can't pass somebody the ball and they score on their own. Westbrook has to set everything up. That's why I feel he has so many turnovers.
It's not like Steph Curry and the Warriors, because when you think about it, Steph has a lot of turnovers as well. That's because he has the ball in his hands so much. His usage rate is really high, and so is Russ's. And if you have the ball in your hands that much, obviously you're going to have more turnovers than somebody like KD, say, who plays off the ball a lot.
So quick question before we move on to the next topic. With the ball in the hand, last player, who would y'all rather have the ball, Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook?
That's not even a question. Why would we even waste time belaboring this? Kevin Durant.
But I asked that because we also have some people in the panel
People
who
who
feel like
who
Westbrook.
disagree,
I would like.
I mean,
I just like to know.
Okay.
Who would you-
I feel like you can't go wrong with either way.
But if you were the coach, we need to have this is the Game 7 in the NBA series. OKC is down 1 to Cleveland Cavaliers, and you need to get the ball to somebody. Who would you give it to?
I would say KD because he's a better shooter.
Yeah, KD too, because he's taller than everybody. He can shoot over them.
See you guys, I'm confused.
But we're talking about the all-around game.
Yeah,
now.
I agree.
And nothing speaks more to that stat than the triple-double stat that Russ is just dominating right now. He's got 27 in the last 2 years. Nobody else has more than 12.
KD said himself that Westbrook's better than him. How you feel about that?
KD's humble.
He
He's
said
very
that out of
humble.
humility. He said that.
Part of that right there.
That's being unselfish as a
part of
team
that,
player.
Yeah, part of that right there. Russ is not going to admit to being a lesser player to anybody, and that's part of the reason. Yes, KD is a better scorer, but I think Russ is a better overall player. But what makes him really special, and I think what makes me rather have Russ than KD is the fact that Russ he has that killer mentality. He believes he's the best player on the floor at all times, and he's not going to back down to anybody. KD, like I said, he disappears in games, and KD's not where he's supposed to be. If he had that mentality like Russ, he would be. This wouldn't even be a conversation if KD had that same mentality that Russ has. But I think Russ, him having that and KD not, puts him over the top.
All right, fellas. The UConn women's basketball team and head coach Gino Auriemma are currently playing for the 4th straight championship in 6 and 8 years. After the Huskies defeated Mississippi State 98-38 to advance to the Final Four, Boston College columnist Dan Shaughnessy tweeted that the team's dominance is hurting women's college basketball. Do you all agree? What do you think, Matt?
I don't agree at all with what he's got to say. Honestly, I don't watch a whole lot of women's sports in general. And the only time I ever hear about women's college basketball is when people were talking about the UConn women and how dominant they are. So I think, I don't think it's hurting it. I think it's actually helping the game just because it's drawing more publicity in. More people were talking about them. More people were talking about the sport in general. So I just don't agree with him at all. And when you think about it, like with Tiger Woods back when he was dominating PGA, like the PGA Tour, he really drew in a lot of fans, and that helped out the sport, and the sport's grown and is a lot better now because of that. So I think to say that the UConn women are hurting it when everybody agrees that Tiger was helping his sport just doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that people are just trying to find a way to criticize the UConn women's team just because they're so great. And I think they've won something like 150 out of 151 games. People are just trying to find a reason to rain on their parade, and I think it's just silly.
I have a stat for you. Since the year 2000, the UConn Huskies women's have won 10 of the past 15 national championships. So when I look at that, their last loss was on November 17, 2014, which was an 88-86 overtime loss to Stanford. So although I respectfully agree, at the same time I disagree because I feel like diversity helps sports. I think sometimes it's great for people to be different, like to see something new. I think in our society, people get bored with winning. And as great as UConn, I feel like it's a great story how they keep winning, and they're like the Goliath. Everybody gonna want to knock them off. But I feel like diversity makes it more fun to watch. Teams like, for example, like a Duke University. If Duke University win, they actually a school could actually have confidence in their team and feel like that their team is going to go out there. They put money into their program and feel like they're going to win national championship. I feel like most teams already have their mindset. Even though as a competitor you should always feel like you're going to win every game, we all know deep down inside that UConn is the best team hands down in college basketball. So when it comes down to it, they win another national championship, who's going to all be shocked? Nobody's going to be shocked. We all going to expect that. So when it happens again, they're like, all right, and in the year, the confetti fly and everybody going to be clapping and all that. And it's like, all right, here's cliche. So although I agree that it's very great for sports, at the same time, I still find that there's a few cons in it as well because it's not a diversity.
I disagree. I think it's mostly because they're women. If it were men, they wouldn't say this. Like he said, Tiger Woods dominated golf. Serena Williams dominated tennis. And you got Jordan with the Bulls. He dominated basketball.
And back when the UCLA Bruins under John Wooden, they won 11 and
they won 6 straight.
And then you have Boston Celtics under Bill Russell. They won like 11 and
nobody
13
ever said
seasons.
Then you have the Warriors this year.
back then.
You have the Warriors this year and the Panthers this past season.
Right.
everyone's cheering them on, but since it's a women's, they're discrediting them, saying, "Oh, it's not right because they're women." I think, and personally, says bad for the program. In the Final Four, you have a 7th seed and in the 4th seed, 7th seed in Syracuse and the 4th seed in Washington, which means they're not just 4-1 seeds; they're diversity in different programs.
But we're also talking about a women's sport that is struggling for popularity. Basketball, football, tennis, all these other sports we're talking, they're not struggling when it comes to views and ratings. Women's basketball, so what they need to do is they need to try something different. And what it's kind of hard because when we talk about a winning team, like I don't want to they're a great winning team. It'll be, in my opinion, in my eyes, it'll look really great if we have like a rival. They had a rival. It was back in the day, had the Pat Summits and Tennessees. That would be great to look forward to. You have one bracket on the West, one bracket on the East, UConn on the East, Tennessee on the West, and it'd be great if they met in the championship game. But it's like we had this idea, this mindset, no matter who UConn meets, they're going to win it regardless. And the competition isn't that close no more, even in baseball, basketball, hockey, tennis. Even though Serena or Tiger Woods, they've been dominant, the games that they had sometimes, they were also great games. They'll go down as classics sometimes. And what if the national championship, they blow them out by 30, 40?
He will have
Probably
an argument if they had the top recruits every year, but they don't. He just develops his players until they're so good.
Okay.
You know, like Kentucky for the men's basketball, they have the best recruits every year, and no one ever says anything about them dominating the sport.
Just because they're overrated. But anyway, let's get back on subject. I disagree with Shaughnessy's claim. If anything, you know, young women and the whole sports world should look at UConn women's program and like take notes, because this is excellent. I mean, they play excellent team basketball. It's almost like the Spurs, but female versions, but times 10. Because if you look at how they play, like they play real intense and they move the ball and they cut. Like sometimes I look at them play and like the ball doesn't even touch the ground, and it's amazing. Now, Shaughnessy does have a point, because it's kind of become like trite, like boring, like how Darian said. Teams are playing to lose against UConn. It's like Texas made it to the Final Four and they're playing
Nebraska or something.
It's Stanford, right?
Oh, Stanford.
Is it right in the Final Four? I think.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing to lose against UConn. I mean, like the whole sports world, sports pundits, analysts already know in the back of their minds these teams are playing. They probably, I mean, of course, in front of the cameras, they're gonna say, yeah, we're gonna try to pull off an upset. But I mean,
mentally they down 20
mentally,
already.
I think they're shook.
Is that like the Warriors this year?
But you don't think people would tune in to see whether they can get knocked off? You don't think they could help them that way?
I think they will.
absolutely.
I feel like that would make an awesome story, a great story. That'd be awesome. But then again, what if they watching the Final Four in the first 10 minutes, UConn's up 22-4. The view's leaving. People are like, oh, this is cliche. UConn gonna win again, and they're leaving. So, like I said, although that is great, it just is entertaining. Is UConn beating teams entertaining? Are you having fun? Are you enjoying watching this game that they're beating every team and about 30, 40 points? Are y'all enjoying it? Are y'all even watching the full game?
They're supposed to win, though. What can you do to stop them from winning? They can't help that they're so good.
I mean,
You can't put it on them. You know, if you say it's boring to watch their games because they're so good and they're dominating so much, put it on the other teams in NCAA women's basketball that aren't at their level. You know, if they followed the way that UConn's doing it, and if they worked hard and their coaches did what needed to be done, they could make it more competitive. You can't. It should be on those teams because they're letting UConn do this. I mean, those teams ought to have some kind of pride and try to knock them off. Like, work harder, get better, and knock them off.
That's not gonna happen though. They're playing to lose against UConn. The only question.
So don't
The
play to
only
lose.
question that really remains is how much they're gonna lose by. 20,
It's
30,
like the Warriors
40,
this year in the
50
NBA.
plus.
The Warriors are beating everybody.
They haven't even made it to the finals yet.
I'm saying just the regular season.
So let's not hype them up because the Spurs might make it to the finals.
I'm talking about the regular season. People are playing to lose to the Warriors. They're getting blown out by
Well, the
20 and
NBA
30.
is a different conversation. The level of intensity is not the same. They don't even play defense half the time in the NBA. And I mean, it's bloody noses every game in college. Well, I can't speak for women, but it's way more intense, especially because it's March Madness.
It's very intense in women's basketball as well, I agree.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, like you all said, the coach for UConn does a great job of developing their players.
big
Other
credit to them.
teams, obviously when you win, you have great recruitments. But other programs, again, good recruiting as well. So like you all said, the UConn coaches doing great developing their players and all that. Man, UConn just run away with it every year. Like I said, for the past 15 national championships, UConn have taken the last 10. And if that number doesn't say, it's a lot. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you.
You've got to congratulate UConn women and not bash them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, that'll do it for this episode of Second Take. Again, I'm Matt Parmesan here with
Desert Grooms.
Darren Eastman.
And Demetrius Dillard.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time.